Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. Hey guys, I'm Rain Younger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. And with me tonight, I have a wonderful panel, as always. We have back for more Miss Ivy Lofberg. Hey, Ivy, how's it going?
So good to be here. Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And of course, back for more as well, Mr. Matt Roran. Hello, Matt.
A pleasure to be back.
All right, so tonight we're gonna basically just be discussing the great comedic mind and talent of Albert Brooks, and he is one of my absolute favorite actors and directors. He's known for so many great films, great comedies over the past few decades, and I'm very excited to talk about him tonight. I could just talk about him all the time. And I'm glad you're here. You guys are here to share that passion with me. So thank you.
So excited to talk about Albert.
Yes, yes. But before we get into everything, just yesterday, I went back to the Nighthawk Cinema to do Spoons, Tunes, and Booze. And Ivy, I know I missed you this time, but that's okay. I will hopefully see you at the next one. And Matt, I hope to see you and your daughters there too, one weekend. So fingers crossed with that. But fantastic event. I love it. Now, okay, so Albert Brooks, Defending My Life is now streaming on Max. And this is just a wonderful documentary about Brooks, his life, his career. We get a nice glimpse at his origins, his upbringing, and of course his career. And Max actually had they had released a documentary similar to this one about another idol of mine, Gary Shandling, which was fantastic. And this kind of is in the same vein as that and same kind of pacing, and just a really nice look at someone that I look up to personally. And, you know, I cherish everything Albert Brooks does, and he really is an inspiration to me. But Ivy, ladies first, what were your thoughts on Albert Brooks Defending My Life?
Yeah, I am so happy that they made a documentary about him.
Mhm.
I wished that there was a lot more of just trusting how funny Albert is and just showing the clips and really letting the brilliance of him play out a little more. I did get a little exhausted having so many people kind of come in and explain the jokes, or like you saw something and then someone explained it. Like I feel like that is the brilliance of Albert Brooks, that you don't have to explain why he's funny. You just have to enjoy and let him be who he is. So I would have appreciated a lot more of that. But with that said, I'm really glad that they made the documentary,
Yeah.
because he really is. I feel like if there was like a Mount Rushmore of like the titans, the founding people of comedy, and like an essential figure that comedy from now on will forever be indebted to, Albert is up there. So
Oh yeah.
it wasn't my favorite documentary, but I'm still thank God it was made so that we can keep making comedy like Albert makes, and keep celebrating voices that are so unique, and are that particular kind of just brilliance.
Yeah, he really had such a unique, still has, sorry, he's still with us, which is interesting because he was in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he had a living funeral. So basically, people would he had people come to his house and they would have this funeral for him, even though he was upstairs watching on a TV. And this is kind of like that in a weird way. It's like it's a beautiful tribute to the man, but he's very much alive still, thank God. And yeah, it's really it's pretty funny to me that they did this documentary now. But I'm glad they did, because I love all things the man has done. But Matt, what are your thoughts on the doc?
Oh, I mean, I love seeing some of the clips because it's like a lot of stuff I had not seen before. like the really early stuff. It was great seeing because all of us. I think I'm the oldest one here. But it's like I remember some of his appearances on Carson.
Mm.
But like anything pre Carson, it's like it's a treasure that we have that to see. And I wanted to see more, like some, because he said he did like every variety show. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to see every one of those. I do have the box set for was it the Great American Dream Machine? They put out the whole special. It was like six episodes,
Mhm.
and so I've seen that one before. But yeah, it's just an absolute
Yeah.
pleasure to get to see some of this stuff because like the way his mind works is just incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad like HBO has been really like hitting. I mean, they did Shandling.
Yeah.
They did his brother, Dave
Oh yeah.
Einstein.
Right,
They
right,
did a
right.
documentary about him. They did the George Carlin one.
Mhm.
They've been really like hitting it, and it's like it's great to see like him getting this recognition because it's like he is such an important figure in comedy.
Right.
And like a lot of the talking heads, it was like Jon Stewart was saying he was like the original like alternative comedian. And it's
Mm.
like yeah, like it was like him and Andy Kaufman like
Yeah.
basically sculpted like everything we know as comedy today.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I just really enjoyed that. And yeah, like it was a little weird, like some of the interviews, like I get why, obviously, like you know his contemporaries, like people, obviously, well, seeing him interviewed by Rob Reiner, his lifelong best friend, was great.
Mm.
But and like like Larry David, and like it's like but it's like I feel like a lot of like the weird ones for me was like Jonah Hill. Like it's like I like Jonah Hill, but
Yeah.
it's like
He doesn't
okay,
belong.
like why did they pick Jonah Hill?
He no, he didn't
Like
belong. Did
it
Brooks?
was like I would have liked to see more people. I mean, I know half of them are dead, but I would have liked to see
Yeah.
more people who had worked with him and actually like come up with him.
Yeah. Was
Uh,
was Jonah Hill, did he play his son in a movie? I want to say yes.
oh yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, I guess like he has done so many roles that it's like I kind of forget. But it's like
Yeah.
I know. I don't know. Was he? Yeah, but like it's just like it just seems weird to me.
Yeah,
Like it's like all right.
I do
I
wish they
wanted to
had,
see more old school people talk about
yes,
him.
agreed.
You know,
Because he needs his, yeah,
but
his,
I guess unfortunately not that many of them are with us anymore.
right. But we got a good amount of people from his
Yeah,
heyday. And
yeah,
yeah, he was very, very popular, especially in the 80s. That's when he started directing. Actually, no, mid to late 70s. I think he did was Real Life. What year was Real Life?
it was 78. No, 70. No, it was younger. It was before that,
Yeah,
like 74 maybe. It was because it was pre Saturday Night Live. That one.
yeah. Okay, let's see here.
Oh no, wait, or was it right at? Yeah, it was mid to late 70s. That
Yeah.
one, I forget, 76. Yeah.
Oh, where the heck is that? I know he did Modern Romance in 81. So it looks like, yeah, Real Life was in 79. 79.
79.
And I
Yeah.
think what's so special about Albert too is all of those movies are so modern. I watch them now and
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
could be made now and still
Yeah.
be really contemporary. Like it is really timeless, the things that he talks about. And I think he was also just hugely ahead of his time and the things that he was comfortable talking about. And I really loved, my favorite part of the documentary was when he talked about his mom and his dad and like the passing of his dad
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
the song that they sang.
No
I think
tomorrow.
there'll be more no tomorrow. His dad
Oh,
just, I mean, like just the dark humor of that I felt was so not that his death was funny, but
right.
just the dark humor
Yeah.
of that I thought really shaped kind of the Albert's ability to find humor in really absurd situations. And then I also thought it was really touching how he talked about his mom, was like, just for, I think for a guy to be that honest about that, it
Yeah.
was hard for his mother to give up her career and see him shine, and she would have wanted to be on Carson, and just him being so honest about that, and even making a movie about that, I think was really new. And I think he was very much the force that pushed a lot of things forward that I think we kind of take for granted now.
Yeah, and such a unique sense of humor and style about him. And that style would transfer over to his directorial efforts. We just mentioned Real Life, but I rewatched Modern Romance fairly recently, maybe about a month ago. And it's just a really like it feels real, it feels like it's really about this neurotic guy. He's a film editor, and he's just having kind of a rocky relationship with his girlfriend. And the conversations that they have throughout the movie are just so genuine, and it doesn't feel like a movie at all. It feels like a documentary.
And like she said, they're timeless. They like
Yeah,
his dialogue. It could have been written today. Like so many movies from that time period, there's so many things in them that are just like so dated.
yeah,
Like I can't think of anything in his movies that's dated. Like it's his
yeah.
dialogue. It's like like what a genius. Like because I guess he writes off of like the like true feelings as opposed to like trends. And it's
Yeah, yeah.
like
No,
yeah,
he just has this real honesty about him, and he's not
a good
afraid.
grasp on it.
Yeah, he knows the human condition so well, and it comes through in all of his movies. I just want to read off a couple of other titles here. We've got Lost in America, which is really good, really beautiful film, actually, about a young couple. It's Brooks and Julie Haggerty. Basically, they decide to go completely off the grid. I think, do they buy or rent the Winnebago? I think they buy it.
Buy
But
it.
anyway, they buy this Winnebago, or they rent it, and they basically drive cross country to find themselves. And it's a really existential movie. It's really deep and funny and heartfelt, and they have great chemistry in this one. That's Lost in America. It's so good. And actually, after that, 6 years later, he would direct the 1991 classic Defending Your Life. And this is one of my all-time favorite comedies. I cannot get enough of this movie. It is such a beautiful love story and a great commentary on death and what might happen after death. And Brooks and Meryl Streep have the perfect chemistry. I don't think I've seen chemistry that good in a movie since. I mean, they killed it in this movie, and you were really rooting for them to end up together and move on to the next phase of their existence. And just real quick, guys, Defending Your Life, thoughts on this classic, Ivy?
Oh my gosh. Also, it's one of my favorite films of all time as well. And it's so perfectly cast, because I feel like that would really happen. Like if you would end up in heaven with Meryl Streep, it's looking at her past lives, and you would all be perfect, and you'd just it just feels so true also to the myth of Meryl Streep herself. And that's what I love about it. And that kind of persona that feels like they just they just know how to be human on a level that transcends, and you can't really live up to anything that they're doing ever. And so I love on that level, it's so perfectly cast, and it's such just a brilliant, simple idea too,
Yeah.
of just the human condition, of like how many of us can be, the heroes of the story, and just like playing through the different incarnations. It's such a hysterical idea
Yeah.
of just the human condition, and it was done in such a grounded way. I mean, a movie about going to heaven, the afterlife, that feels so grounded and funny and real, I think is so special.
Yeah, and it's not vulgar. I don't think there's any real cursing in it. It's actually, I mean, this would be a good family film, I'd say, to just kind of expose maybe not little kids, maybe teenagers. Matt, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think
Oh,
this?
my kids have seen crazy things they shouldn't have seen because I take my kids to see everything. So, I brought them to go see the whale. It's like,
Oh gosh.
like my kids have seen heavy. We watched Thelma and Louise last night. So they're down. They're definitely down for something light and hysterical, like in your
Okay.
life. But yeah, like I taped it off of HBO many moons ago in the early '90s, and like I wore that tape out. I watched. I don't even know how many times I've seen that movie. It was just one of those things where it's like you just. It's like the perfect movie when you're like, what should I watch? And you're just like,
Yeah.
you know what? It's right there. You're like, it's such a perfect film. It's like the perfect amount of time. It's just it's such a delightful movie. It's like funny how a movie on that subject, and also in the movie itself, it shouldn't be like an uplifting like, but it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a fun,
feel,
I mean, it's sad, but it's also very fun.
yeah.
I think maybe a perfect amount of both fun and sad. So
Yeah. It's definitely a feel good, and it's a very
yeah.
optimistic look at what happens after
Yeah.
death, for sure. Definitely. Have you screened it at the center, or do you plan on doing it?
We have not. We have not since I've worked. The only man, I don't think we've screened any Albert Brooks movies since
Really?
I've been working there. I what was I got excited for Mother's Day, so that my boss put Mother on but it was what's his face's mother, the new one, with
The new
Jennifer
Mother?
Lawrence.
Oh, No
Um,
Hard Feelings?
no, the movie Mother.
Oh, the
There's
movie
because
Mother. Oh, yeah, yeah.
there's
Oh
three
my
movies
gosh.
of Mother.
That,
Oh
There's
that
no.
was
you
that
have
was
the Bong
weird.
Joon Hoon
What a weird
Mother,
Mother's
which
Day
is great.
movie. That's
That was a
horrible.
bizarre movie.
I
They're
hate
three
that movie.
completely different
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, I was hoping it was Albert Brooks' Mother because that movie is fantastic.
Right. So yeah, that Mother was in 1996, and it was him and Debbie Reynolds, and their chemistry as mother and son is just hilarious. And yeah, it's another feel-good movie, actually. It's very tame. It's not vulgar at all or violent. It's just a really pleasant, awkward relationship. And yeah, that was really, yeah, that's kind of an underrated movie or underrated movie.
Yeah, I actually had seen it at the cinema that I
Yeah.
work in now.
Okay.
When it came out, they showed it, but I mean that was 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. I enjoyed that one. But 3 years later, 1999, he would direct one of my favorite Brooks films of all time, The Muse. And this is just a hilarious, ridiculous, kind of supernatural almost comedy about a screenwriter who has lost his edge, apparently. And he meets Sharon Stone's character, who, through Jeff Bridges, who basically introduces her as a muse who has this mystical effect on creatives. And basically, if Brooks gets involved with this woman on a strictly professional level, his writing will benefit, and he will get really great ideas and become successful again, and kind of get out of his creative slump. And Andy McDowell's in it. It's really funny. He directed it. I think he wrote it. Let me see here. He wrote it with Monica Johnson, and it's just another feel-good movie, really pleasant, very funny. Came out in '99 and kind of fell through the cracks, unfortunately, because it's such a funny one. Ivy, have you seen The Muse?
I have. I'm so happy you brought the Muse up. I feel like it's such a hugely underrated movie. It's incredibly, you said it, delightful,
Yeah.
witty, interesting, and great performances. It's all of his films, especially that one, are just really great on like a Saturday afternoon. You're looking for something to watch that is going to just be delightful and but intelligent and thoughtful, and you're going to feel good at the end of watching it.
Yeah.
the Muse is especially one of those, and I think Sharon Stone is fantastic in it, and her between Albert Brooks and Jeff Bridges is really, they're a cool pair, all
Yeah.
of them in there.
Like I would have loved to have like been an extra in this movie and just kind of
Oh,
hang out with them. But I wonder what those dinners or those lunches must have been like.
oh yeah, and with all the celebrity cameos in that
Right.
movie, all playing themselves. Oh man, tremendous. Yeah, I was lucky. Yeah, that the first movie theater I worked in back in the days of the National Amusements chain. I worked and every Thursday night they would do employee screenings because they had to run the films to test them, just in case. And I was the only person who chose to stay to watch the Muse. And I saw it, and it was just me and the projectionist, and I absolutely loved it. I had the poster on my wall I got from my job after the week it was out. Unfortunately, was in and out so quickly,
Yeah.
but I got to see it. A private screening, pretty much. So
Nice. Yeah, I might even do a commentary for this next year when it celebrates its 25th anniversary. It's just such a fun one. And also I wanted to mention Elton John did the score, which is like a really bouncy, very fun, light and airy score. And it only elevates the film to even greater heights. And I just want to mention Andy McDowell, who is her typical lovely self here. And basically throughout the 90s, they would include Andy McDowell in all these great big name comedies as kind of like the wife or the love interest. And she's fantastic here. She has a subplot where she is a baker. She bakes cookies, and they make the cookies sound so good. Wolfgang Puck wants to buy them and start selling them in his restaurants. And it's just all the element. Matt, you mentioned the filmmaker cameos. You've got Martin Scorsese. You've got James Cameron. It's like, and
I
also,
love the don't go back to the water thing because it's like so funny.
stay away
Like,
from the water.
it's like stay away from the water. It's like, yeah, he definitely did not.
Yeah. Well, you know what my favorite cameo was? Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Quote unquote Steven Spielberg, played by Stephen Wright, who in the movie is supposed to be Steven Spielberg's cousin. He's basically in this little office with a poster of E.T. behind him, and they're like, "Okay, Mr. Spielberg's ready to see you." Stephen Wright, just so
Such a great joke.
yeah, it's like, and I attribute all of that to Albert Brooks's great comedy. He really knows how to sell it. And I just wanted to mention his last directorial effort. Sadly, it was in 2005. So that was the last time he was behind the camera. And that was for Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World, which I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
I have.
I have not seen that one.
yeah, it's an interesting one. So basically, in the movie, the United States government basically hires Brooks, who plays kind of like a fictional version of himself, to go into like India, I think it's Pakistan and some other countries, and kind of like do some research and write a report on what makes Muslim people laugh. And it's kind of a strange one. It came out 5 years after 9/11, so it was a little kind of tense, kind of awkward, but it's actually another feel-good film. It has that signature Brooks style of kind of like an easygoing story that kind of flows nicely and just really good dialogue. So that is Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World. Ivy, I recommend it. It's a pretty good one. And of course, we've got the Finding Nemos, we've got Finding Dory. These are really adorable movies that have basically introduced Brooks to the next generation of fans, which is very cool, I think. And I should mention that this year marks the 20th anniversary of Finding Nemo, a really wonderful Pixar film with Brooks basically in the lead as the clownfish Marlin. So that's fun stuff. So, Brooks is great. I love him. And I really hope he does more of anything. Basically, I think in the past 10 years, he's been doing a lot of dramas, which I respect. But yeah, I think he's got a lot more ammunition to unload. So I really hope we see more of his stuff. Guys, any final thoughts on Mr. Brooks? Matt.
Oh, I was curious as to what your first Albert Brooks moment was. The first I remember seeing Albert Brooks anything was watching Nick at Night, the reruns of Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
I was in my the tweens, and like really like it was like I get well pre it was like I was like probably like 10, and seeing the video he shot, the one like show us your guns.
Okay.
That was my first exposure to any Albert Brooks, where it was like going to the small town, like show us your guns, and then the one where he does open heart surgery. So those were the two first things I ever saw of Albert Brooks, and not too long later, a couple years later, I saw Defending Your Life, and then
Nice.
like just blew me away.
Yeah, so good, so good. I also want to mention, I almost forgot about Broadcast News, which I actually rewatched just before this recording, and that was Albert Brooks was nominated for an Oscar for a supporting role for that film. Great movie, directed by James L. Brooks. He written, produced, and directed by Holly Hunter's fantastic in it, and so is William Hurt. Just a great film. Also, his first film ever was a small part in a Taxi Driver, where he played kind of this nerdy campaign organizer for, I think it was for the mayor of New York City. But yeah, he was in that. And another movie that I love of his that, again, underrated, called The Scout, with it's him and Brendan Fraser. Fraser plays basically a really talented baseball player who Brooks is a scout for the New York Yankees and brings him to New York to basically bring King Kong back to New York. And it's again, a feel-good movie. I don't think it's weird. He does either really feel-good movies or really dark, disturbing dramas.
Or
like
Drive.
Yeah.
He does feel-good movies or Drive.
There's nothing in between. there's no gray area there. Yeah. Which is awesome. But yeah,
that story about him getting Drive 2 was great. I was like, oh, I don't see you as like, whatever. And then he's like, if I held a gun very early, it's like it's great.
Yeah,
it's like
he was terrifying in Drive.
Oh yeah,
he was utterly
really
scary.
That role.
So great, such a transformation. I love that movie.
And I'm so glad you mentioned Broadcast News. That movie makes me so emotional when I watch it. I think it is another one of my favorite movies. I'm not surprised Albert Brooks is so involved in it and that he won for that role. The speech he gives of just being the one who's looked over, I cry every time I see it. Because it's so real and so raw, and just that sense of loss that he feels. He's so unafraid to just be real about life in a way that never feels, at least in his comedies, never feels depressing either, or oppressive, or like kind of all hope is lost. Like I think what's so incredible about him in Broadcast News is I also feel like he's going to be okay. I think partly because he's so honest emotionally, and he just shares like what his real experience is. And I think to be able to do that in a comedy, to be that real without like dragging the whole movie down, and actually making the movie more interesting and touching and beautiful, and that, and finding the humor in that too, and being, I think we've all been the one, who's been looked over, and just him being able to capture that moment. I think especially that he kind of did deserve her. I think a little bit his William Hurt character was so kind of wonderfully dim-witted, and Albert was so superior in his intelligence and what he brought to a relationship that, you know, to play a character like that who really did deserve the woman, and he didn't get her because he didn't have the looks, and just everything that he brought to that was, I think, one of the best roles you're gonna see in a comedy.
And that's why he was nominated. Just a really powerful performance, very rooted in reality. You really are rooting for him and Holly Hunter, and it's just it's tragic, you know. But in the end, it sort of has a bittersweet ending, and that's what I love about it. I can't really say the same for Brooks' part in Twilight Zone the movie, where he met a very grim end in that film. And Matt, I know you know the scene all too well. But yeah, I am a huge fan of that opening segment in Twilight Zone the movie, directed by John.
Best part of the movie.
Yeah, it is the best.
Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd. I mean, come on.
And that monster makeup, I'm pretty sure it was the same people who did Thriller and American Werewolf in London. I'm pretty sure. But I just had to throw that in there because it's an amazing film. Also, Brooks is known for his many voice roles on The Simpsons and in The Simpsons movie. So the man is multi-talented. He
How
wrote
about papaya? It's full of papain. Makes you strong like Popeye. Popeye,
Yeah.
Popeye, Popeye. Get it?
Yes. And he even he wrote a book, actually, which I have not read yet.
Yeah, I gotta read that.
Yeah, it's called 2030: The Real Story of What Happens to America. It came out in 2011, same year he did Drive. So that was an interesting year for him. But yeah, the man, you know, he's 76 years old, but I think he's got a lot more work ahead of him, and I can't wait to see what he does next. He's so good. So yeah, guys, I think we're about done with the Albert Brooks Love Fest here. Do we have any plugs tonight? Anything going on? Ladies first, Ivy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just my Instagram. I'm a little behind. I do something called Film Remedy on my Instagram, where I just have a theme for the month and just share movies that are under that theme. I got to catch up on it. I've had a really busy month, but I'm excited to take some time with the holiday and catch up on that for November. But yeah, if you just go to my name at Ivy Lofberg, you can see that there. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Mr. Roran.
As usual, I got the theater going, Call Cafe, every Saturday night at 9:30. This week we got Rocky is playing, and it's our Thanksgiving weekend movie. And then the week after that, we're doing Beetlejuice. Oh. So that'll be a hoot. And then Pickle Island, you know, it's happening. It's there. There's now ice cream in the winter. It's getting colder, so we got ice cream now. But you know, if you need pickles or CDs, DVDs, or comics, we got Pickle Island and 12 Ludlam Avenue, Bayville, New York, and I'll most likely be there.
Pickle ice cream. I can't wrap my head around it, but I'm sure it's interesting to taste. I'll get there eventually. But and speaking of Beetlejuice, I just really noticed your shirt. Can we get a full glimpse of that?
Oh my god, that's incredible!
I love it. I love that.
Wow.
Yes, you'll have to send me the link to get that shirt.
Oh, we also have a giant Mars Attacks alien outside of our store.
Oh, come on.
Gosh.
You are killing, man. I need to go there, seriously. It's awesome. And as for me, you can check out video episodes of Under the Radar Manhattan Neighborhood Network, Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And of course, you could hear the podcast, the audio version, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. There's been some technical issues for this week and possibly the next week, but we will get on track soon. And you can always, of course, watch previous episodes of Under the Radar on the YouTube channel. So feel free to visit there and subscribe and share. That'd be great. Thank you. So, Ivy, Matt, thank you. This was amazing. I don't think there's anyone better to talk about Albert Brooks with. This was fantastic.
You ever
And
seen a man say goodbye to his shoe?
and, and with that, I bid you adieu, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Ivy and Matt. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I'm Randy Unger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care, guys.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending, interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And with me right now, I have filmmaker Jacob Chase of the new short film Trouble. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you, Randy.
You too, you too. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to start off by congratulating you on Trouble. Fantastic film. I watched it twice. And it is just a wonderful production. You did a great job. Congratulations on congratulations are definitely in order for being considered for an Academy Award. That's incredible news. So congrats on that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very it's very fun to make, and I'm glad people seem to be digging it. It's a weird little musical, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that's into that.
Okay. It is very weird, very strange indeed. And I'm just curious, how did this idea originally come about?
Well, Trouble came about because I have long been interested in combining two of my favorite genres, which are musicals and horror films. And I have long thought that there's a potential to have something really creepy tied to music. There's something unnerving about someone sort of losing their marbles through song. And I wanted to try to get that tone on screen, and doing it as a short instead of a feature made it more accessible to me quicker. And also just let me have the opportunity to try out that tone. So it was that at first, and then also I wanted to re-examine a sort of golden age musical through a modern lens, with how it makes us feel today.
Okay, cool. Very well put, sir. Very well put. And it's just a great combination of those genres. You rarely see musical and horror mixed together like that, and the way you just did it was just so perfect, I must say.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to talk about the casting here, especially Anthony Rapp, who really he just steals the entire show. He's chewing up the scenery, and the rest of the cast is very small but very, very effective. Talk a little bit about the casting process. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony's incredible. I mean, I've been a fan of his since I was young, and I was one of those kids that used to line up to try to get the front row seats to see Rent that they used to do at the original production, and so big Anthony fan as long as I can remember. And when we were working on this, I had written the script, and then my songwriters, Alan and Michael, were working on the song simultaneously. And we all sort of at the same time were like, who would be perfect for this is Anthony Rapp. They had worked with him, I think, on a reading or something years ago, but they weren't super close. But they put us in touch anyway, and Anthony read it, listened to the song, and luckily he really loved it as much as we did, and he got excited about it. And we sort of, he had a very short window where he could sort of make a shoot work over a couple days, and so we very quickly put it together to make it work with his schedule, and cast around him. I mean, he's definitely the lead of it, and it was all about this sort of show-stopping performance at the center of it. And I wanted the rest of the cast to feel at home in the musical space, even though other characters don't sing necessarily. I wanted it to feel like this movie, this short, from the jump, was sort of in this slightly larger than life world. And so I cast John Rubinstein and Gwen, who both have incredible musical theater resumes. I mean, Rubinstein in particular, obviously, original Pippin and stuff. So just incredible to work with all of these folks on this little short.
Were all three actors considered originally, or were there others in contention?
They were the three that, I mean, especially Anthony was like the main guy that we always wanted. There was a few wonderful gentlemen for the other role, but John Rubinstein was the very first person I talked about, and I'm so happy that we got him. I mean, he was the first wizard I ever saw in Wicked. So I have a particular fondness for his performance, and brings back good memories of first time seeing Wicked.
And I just gotta say that all three actors just they bounce off each other so beautifully, and the chemistry is so strong in this film. And it's only 11 minutes. It's just so crazy what you accomplished, especially with the actors. I could
and the
totally
dancers too. I mean, there was the three dancers coming in too. Like they were, even though they don't speak necessarily, like they've I think there's a showmanship quality to all three of them that really I feel helps lend itself to that musical feeling of the whole film.
What is it about musicals that fascinates you so?
I think for me, there's nothing quite like sitting in the dark and watching a character express themselves, their emotions through song. It's the equivalent of, a great close-up in a film, but it's the quickest, most surefire way to sort of get into somebody's heart, I feel. And it's an energy that I just love. I mean, I have since I was a kid. I grew up in musical theater as an actor, and I have loved it then and ever since. And to me, even musicals that maybe I don't connect with the story as much, there's always still something that like moves me when it's a character singing their emotions through song.
It's awesome. That was, I totally agree. A good musical can just be so impactful. Not just the acting, but I think more so the music, because the music really gets into your soul, and it really stirs up emotions. Sometimes emotions you never even thought you were capable of feeling. And this film that certainly does that. And the music is really great. I just got to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. What were some challenges you faced on set?
I mean, there was a ton of challenges. It was a very short shoot. I mean, I shot it in 2 days, which doesn't sound that short for an 11-minute short film, but when you've got an elaborate musical number and choreography throughout, it just wasn't a lot of time. So, it was definitely a rush. And then I made the choice, which I'm very glad I made this choice, but it was a challenge, which was to have Anthony sing live on set. I thought it was important to, I wanted it to feel like this sort of naturalistic transition between dialogue and song and back and forth, because the character is sort of, as he's sort of going mad through music, I wanted him to be able to sort of drive the tempo and the energy. So I had a live piano player on set fed into his ear, so he could sing live, and then the piano player would play along, and in the ultimate film, it blends into the pre-record and then sometimes into the live. It's half and half or so, but what that meant was then in post, we have different tempos going, so it's like you're trying to edit this like very rhythmic kind of music and dance with song, with music that doesn't always perfectly line up. So it was definitely a challenge for our composers, and then also Zach Robinson, who was our arranger and did the rest of the score outside of the song. And that was challenging, but it was a challenge that I'm glad we took on, because I think it really helps the film feel quite natural as it's transitioning back and forth from song and dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine the editing room being ridiculous. So, yeah,
well, the editing
quite
room
a
was
process.
me on this computer
Yeah.
that I'm currently talking to you on. So
Okay.
it was just me editing. But yeah, there was challenges for sure. But I mean, luckily, look, the performances were wonderful, and it was knowing that we had a very short schedule. The DP Florian and myself, like ton of planning and just trying to, I wanted the whole film to feel quite choreographed, not just from a dancing perspective, but from a visual language as well. So it came together. I mean, those challenges aside, it was, it went fairly smoothly in the edit.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, the visual style is just so strong. I was just hoping you can speak a little bit about the cinematography, and how did you achieve such a unique look? Because it looks like in most movies, you see kind of sunlight beaming through the window, but at the same time, it's kind of dark and ominous. And it's just a great effect that you achieved. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with this great DP Florian. It was my first time collaborating with him, but I've been a fan of his work, and he was excellent. Really got into this musical vibe that I was going for. I really didn't want this thing to look like a musical. I didn't want it to. It's not flashy. There's no sequins. It's not bright and colorful. It is first and foremost a thriller, really. And I wanted it to, all my references were all from horror films and suspense movies, thrillers, right? And that was sort of the visual language I was going for in lighting and color palette. But at the same time, like I said, like I wanted a sort of choreography to the camera, so that it felt like we were sort of dancing even before the dancing started. So I think that visual language, the idea is that that marriage early on would help sort of take the audience by the hand and guide them through this idea of this mix of genres, which, hopefully works for people. I think it's, I'm happy with how it turned out, but it was definitely like a weird, it's a weird mix, and you don't know until you make this kind of thing. But I had shot it all on my iPhone first and edited it together and stuff, and like I like to do that kind of thing to plan it out, and just like with some friends or with stick figures or whatever, to like make sure sort of the visual language of it is making sense,
Right.
and then sort of adjust from there.
That's cool. I love your process. An iPhone and just film your friends. That's the rehearsal. I love it. Now the choreography is fantastic. You've got Anthony Rapp just bouncing around. It's just beautiful. Like I could see the man. I could watch him sing and dance forever, because he's just so talented. How involved were you with the choreography of the sequences?
Yeah, I mean, Sean Liu is our choreographer, who's a wonderful choreographer and dancer in his own right. And he was just someone that I had found online, who I loved. He was recommended to me by the director John Chu, who I've worked with, and it's he was a great great performer. Was lucky to get him. I had a very clear sense of sort of the arc of the dance and kind of emotionally what I wanted to get out of each moment. But Sean, of course, brought his very unique flair to it and, made it work within Anthony's body and the other dancers as well. And it's, I wanted it to feel like his hands and body were almost like his soul bursting out of him and almost like he didn't have control over it at some point. So it was, a great collaboration with Sean. Sean had the idea, like at the end when the dancers are like puppeting Anthony forward, in the script, it's sort of like they're pushing him and tugging him and stuff. But the way Sean, visualized that for me through this, like, staccato sort of rhythm, the dance to the music, it just made it, brought it together in a whole new way.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, it's all a dance and everyone is in it and everyone's working together. Just it's a very physical film. Again, rap totally sells it, and just beautiful choreography. Awesome. Ultimately, what do you hope audiences take away from this film? I mean, it is a short film, but it does have a lot to say. But what do you hope audiences ultimately take away from?
Well, I mean, I would love if an audience feels at the end like it's been a sort of full emotional journey for this character, that we've sort of, while it starts as a mystery, we hopefully understand him a bit more by the end and are potentially, spoiler alert, a bit scared of the man by the end. I love the idea of people being afraid next time someone comes to their door, because that person might break into song.
Right. With knives.
With knives, maybe.
Yes, yeah. It's such a fun film. Is there any chance of this turning into a feature? What do you think?
I mean, I think this individual story is fairly closed in terms of it being this deconstruction of a sort of classic musical. But this tone, this idea of a sort of thriller mixed with a musical that feels quite grounded yet somehow larger than life, I think that tone absolutely should carry into a feature. And I've been trying to figure out what that is as I have time, and the composers Alan and Michael, who are wonderful songwriters, we keep batting around ideas for the feature version, what that could feel like. So yeah, I hope so someday.
Well, I'll be there. You've got my movie ticket, so I'll be there for that. Hopefully that'll happen. So the film is it's short. It's available. Can people see it now? Is it available to view, to stream?
Yeah. Trouble is on YouTube. Just search for Trouble, Anthony Rapp, something like that. Trouble musical short film, maybe. And yeah, it's available to see. And cool. I hope people check it out.
Nice, awesome. Lastly, are there any projects you're working on now that you can discuss?
I can't say too much yet, but yeah, I have my next movie is it's a movie I'm doing for Blumhouse Universal, which was my last movie was Focus Universal as well. So I am excited to be prepping that movie, and fingers crossed we'll be shooting very soon. I'll believe it when I'm on set, as these things go. But no, I'm very excited about it. It's not a musical. It's back to my horror roots, but you never know. I keep trying to add a musical sequence in it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I just think of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm assuming that's sort of an inspiration for you, or at least it's obviously come across on your radar.
Yeah.
But the horror musical, it's you don't really hear that combination often.
Yeah, but, it's not. I love Rocky Horror. I love Little Shop. Those are, I love those. I think there's definitely a fair number of sort of camp horror musicals. which I, again, are wonderful. I think I was trying to hit a tone that is a little bit more Sweeney Todd, where it's like a little bit more grounded, like genuinely terrifying.
Right.
But yeah, there's not a lot, and I think it's because it's a really tricky tone, and it's a weird one. So like, I don't know. Is there an audience for it? I hope so. I mean, I think the people that seem to really be responding to the short are the people that, love both genres. And, I'm glad I got to make something that sort of combined the two.
Do you prefer the more grounded horror stories, or are you into supernatural as well?
I love supernatural stuff. I think supernatural can also be grounded, though. I mean, like I would say a movie like The Conjuring or The Ring or something, I would call those grounded movies, even though they have supernatural elements, but they like take place in our world. Characters act as people really would, right? That's for me, it's always about the way people react. I think in I like when a horror film in particular has characters at the center who feel like real people, and you want to sort of see go on this journey.
Another strong example, I'd say, would be Hereditary and Midsommar. It's fantastic films.
Definitely.
So, all right, Jacob. Well, I think we're almost about out of time here. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time today. Trouble is great, and I look forward to seeing it again. I've seen it twice so far. I just wanted to really absorb it, and again, huge Anthony Rapp fan. Congratulations on the film and everything surrounding the film. I really hope it takes home Oscar Gold next year.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. And I think every time people watch it, there's a few more Easter eggs to pick up for those who are in the know.
For
thank
sure.
you, Randy. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jacob Chase of the new short film Trouble. I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. Take care, guys.